Hello, everyone. So for today's topic, we have the introduction to the derivatives. Okay, so with that, our lesson objectives are the following. To illustrate the tangent line to the graph of a function at a given point. Relate the derivative of a function to the slope of the tangent line and apply the differentiation rules in computing the derivative of algebraic functions. Okay, so let's start with the review of the formula for the slope. Yan. So for any slope of a line, we have the formula y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So practically, we need 2 points for us to have a slope. Diba? Kasi we need a y1 and a y2 and x1 and an x2. So we assign, diba, ang tangent line natin touches, diba, one of the saddest love stories in mathematics, no? Touches once but parted forever. So we need the tangent line, the slope of the tangent line at P. But then since we need another point, so we assign a Q, a point Q, which is another point on the curve, f of x. So it's another point on the curve f of x. So ang coordinates ni QI, let's write it here. Yan. So if we are to write the coordinates of Q, it will be x times x and then comma f of x plus h. So let's write it there. So ang coordinates ni Q ay si x plus h tapos f of x plus h or the corresponding y at this x coordinate. Okay? Whereas si P naman, ang coordinates niya is x, f of x. Or the value of the function at x. Ito naman, the value of the function at x plus h. So if we get the y2 minus y1, this serves as the y2 and this serves as the, sorry for the, okay, this is the y1. Ayan, so y2 minus y1 will be represented by this difference. So that will be f of x plus h minus f of x. So lagay natin siya sa numerator. Tapos ang denominator naman natin is the difference of the two x's. So that will be practically the difference of these two values. No? So x plus h minus x. No? So if we subtract them, we'll just be getting this distance and that is just equal to our h. Okay, so lalagay na lang natin sa denominator yung x plus h minus x is actually just h. Okay, so ang gusto natin yung slope ng tangent line and not the slope of the line determined by these 2 points. No? So we want the Q to be closer and closer to P. Papalapitin natin siya ng malapit. No? Lalapit pa ng malapit na malapit until it's very close to P. Kasi what we want is actually the slope of the tangent line at P. So gusto natin kay Q, yung mas malapit pa kay P. So we want the x plus h to be very, very near to x until such time na yung h natin is almost 0. Okay? So we want the h to approach the value of 0. So papasok ulit yung limit natin as h approaches 0 and that gives us the definition of the derivative using the limit definition. Okay? So practically yung notation natin, this one is read as dy over dx or the derivative of y with respect to x. And that is equal to the limit as h approaches 0 of x, f of x plus h minus f of x all over h. So we want this denominator or the distance between these two values of x to be very, very small. And kasi we want the slope of the tangent line. Okay, ito yung kailangan natin. So, meron tayong mga notations na realize natin, yung palang derivative, galing lang pala siya sa slope ng tangent line. So, ang notation natin, given this y equal to f of x, it can be y prime. So, it still refers to the derivative. In fact, this is the most popular notation. And then we can have this one as we encountered earlier. We can also have f prime of x given this function. Tapos pwede rin namang ganito. Okay? So if we are given, for example, g of t. Yan, kunwari ito yung function natin. Yung ating magiging derivative of that, pwedeng g prime of t. Tapos kunwari, if this is the function x naman, that will be the dx over dt or the derivative of the function x with respect to t. Okay, so ganun lang yun, ano? Normally, we differentiate with respect to the independent variable. Okay. So, meron tayong other meanings pa ng derivative aside from being a slope of the tangent line. Diba, yun yung na-encounter natin kanina. So, that's why if we encounter this, find the slope of the tangent line to the curve so and so at this particular point. Ibig sabihin, ang hinahanap lang natin is simply the derivative. Okay? So, another term na ma-encounter natin or another expression, yung instantaneous rate of change of the function with respect to a certain variable. Yan. So pag na-encounter natin tong phrase na to, instantaneous rate of change, again, that just refers to the derivative. So let's have an illustrative definition of the derivative of y equal to 3x squared before we go to our differentiation rules. Ayan, yung ano muna, limit definition muna. Okay? So this serves as our f of x. Okay? So balikan natin yung ating dy dx equal to the limit, di ba? Ayan yan. Okay, so this is our f of x. So that means ang ating f of x plus h will be this, no? We simply replace the variable x by x plus h and we do the same thing with the right side. Okay, so we expand this binomial, we square that. So ganun ang gagawin natin sa kanya a bit later. Tapos minus that f of x. Tapos yung denominator natin, chill lang, stay put lang na h. Okay? Tapos, ang gagawin nga natin, we square our binomial. So that will make it 3 quantity x squared plus 2xh plus h squared. Then we apply distributive property. Okay. Lagay natin siya in place again of this part. Yan, ipapalit natin siya doon. Okay. Tapos, syempre, meron pa tayo minus 3x squared. Okay. So, notice that yung 3x squared tsaka minus 3x squared, this term and this term will cancel out. Tapos, meron tayong common factor dun sa natira. Common factor tayo na h. We can factor it out, no? So, lalabas niyan, pwede tayo magkaroon ng h multiplied by quantity 6x plus 3h all over h. Yan, so magka-cancel lang yung h over h. That fraction approaches 1 as h approaches 0. So as h approaches 0, this term will become 0. So matitira sa atin, diba? Magka-cancel lang yon. So ang matitira will just be 6x. Yan, so 6x is independent already of h, kaya yun na yung answer natin. So ibig sabihin, ang derivative pala ni 3x squared is just 6x. Okay. So for the succeeding discussion, please take note of the formula or formulas every time we see this icon. Okay, so iti-take note natin yon sa ating mga e-notes. Thus, given this function, ano nga yung derivative niya? 6x. So we have this notation for our derivative. So pwede rin naman ganito. Also this one. So all of this mean the derivative of the function y with respect to x. So in general, given y equal to cx to the n, ito yung c, coefficient, the n is the exponent, the y prime will be Cn, multiply natin si coefficient by the exponent, tapos subtract 1 from the exponent. Okay? So basically, ang tatandaan nating process, multiplication, subtraction. So MS lang yung ating acronym MS. Multiply, subtract. Multiply, coefficient by the exponent, and then subtract 1 from the exponent. We take note of that. Okay? So the process of getting the derivative, take note, is actually called differentiation. So when we are getting the derivative, we're actually differentiating. Okay, we differentiate. We don't say derive. Okay, kasi yung ibang students are used to saying derive, no, to mean that they are getting the derivative. It's actually differentiate. So meron tayong mga special cases pang mga shortcut natin. So ayan yung ating general formula. So suppose you're given with this, yung understood exponent natin for x is 1. Okay, so you just have coefficient times x. Yung y prime, di ba, sabi natin multiply, subtract. So we'll be multiplying c by 1 and then x to the 0. Pero yung x to the 0 will cancel out kasi it's just equal to 1. Di ba? Ayan. So, ibig sabihin, ang matitira na lang sa atin is just the C. Okay? Ibig sabihin, once we're given with this term or expression, we just have to pick up the coefficient. Yan. Basta meron kang kunwari x to the 1 na understood na exponent ay 1, just have to pick up the coefficient for your derivative. Okay? So, for example, you have 18x. Simply pick up the 18. The derivative will be just 18. Okay? So, kunwari meron kang y equal to 2000x. Ayan. You simply pick up the 2000. The y prime is 2000. Okay? So, coefficient lang ang kailangan natin for the derivative. Now, if you're given with the constant, diba, ang understood na kasamahan niya na factor is 1, which is actually x to the 0. Diba? Parang meron ka dyan parang times 1, which is x to the 0. Yan. So if we apply the multiply subtract, we want to multiply coefficient by the exponent 0, and then we have x to the negative 1. Pero syempre, dahil may 0 ka na factor coming from the exponent, again, dinagdag natin to kasi that is equal to 1 para lang mas maging pronounced itong ating formula. Okay? So we have equal to 0. That's why every time we have a constant, 0 lang yung kanyang derivative. So kahit gaano pa siya kalaki, say 5,000, the y prime will be 0. Kahit sabihin pa natin na irrational number yan, say kunwari meron kang pi raised to the 5th power. Yan. Hindi ka mag-a-apply ng multiply subtract rule kasi you don't have a variable there. So your y prime is 0. Bakit nga ba 0? Parang realistically speaking, it's constant, di ba? Constant. The derivative refers to the rate of change, instantaneous rate of change. Pag constant, di ba, nagbabago ba si constant? Of course not, no? So, kaya dapat 0 yung derivative niya. It's not changing, okay? So, if we're given with x to the n, ang understood coefficient mo naman dito is 1. Yan, understood coefficient there is 1. So, multiply 1 by n, you simply bring down the exponent n, tapos x to the n minus 1. Okay, so for our example, say we have x to the 10, simply bring down the 10 and then you have x to the 9. Okay, so let's consider this differentiation rules. If you have a constant, derivative of a constant, this is read as derivative of a constant with respect to x is 0. Tapos kapag may ganito naman tayo, with this one, ibig sabihin nito, we're getting the derivative of this function. Parang, di ba, instead of dy over dx, yung y natin is being written as c in this case. Tapos dito naman yung y natin is equal to c times f of x. No? So, pag kinukuha daw natin yung derivative nito, we can simply write the coefficient outside, di ba? And then differentiate the rest of the function. Okay? Ayun. So, ang y natin again dito is equal to c times f of x. So, in getting the derivative, labas lang natin si c. Yan. Tapos, differentiate the rest of the function. Tapos, ito yung derivative ng x to the n. Yun yung binabalang natin si n. Tapos, x to the n minus 1, which is also called the power rule. Okay. So, those are the basic derivative rules that you have to take note of. So, let's find the derivative of the following. Say this one, y equal to x. What is the derivative? Yun. So, ang understood coefficient niya is 1. So, pick up the coefficient there. So, it's just 1. Okay? For number 2, ayan, nasa form siya na x to the n. So, baba lang si 2. That will be just 2x. And then for number 3, ang pi is a constant, diba? It's a constant real number. It's an irrational number. So, y prime will be 0. For number 4, diba? Yan yung may cx. So, just have to pick up the coefficient. So, the y prime will just be 10,000. And then for the number 5, this is again a constant, diba? Wala tayong traces of x. So, it's a constant, meaning y prime will be 0. Okay. And then for number 6, you have this. Mukha siyang fraction na mag-a-apply na tayo ng ibang rule, no? Pero it's actually 1/2 times x. Diba? It can be written in the form cx. So just have to pick up the coefficient. So pick upin lang natin yung 1/2. That's the derivative already. Yan. Take note that you have to change the notation from y to y prime once you are getting the derivative already. Yan. For number 7, we have 2 over x. Baliktad, di ba? Binaliktad yung x over 2 natin kanina. So, ang gagawin natin is to write this in the form cx to the n. No? Paano natin siya masusulat na ganitong form? Okay, so sulat natin si y as 2 times x to the negative 1 para pronounce yung ating n. Okay, yung ating exponent na imumultiply kay c. So the y prime will be now negative 2 and then negative 1 minus 1 will be negative 2. Okay, so simplifying, that will be negative 2 over x squared. For number 8, we have 1/2. So ang magiging derivative niya, again, this is just a constant. So y prime will be 0. Then for number 9, we have square root of x. That is actually x to the 1/2, di ba? Every time meron tayong radical, remember to express that in terms of an exponential form. Yan. So ayan po, no, para kitang-kita natin what the n value is. Okay? So ang n natin there is 1/2. So we bring it down, baba si 1/2 and then subtract 1 from 1/2 minus 1, that becomes negative 1/2. Okay? So baba natin yung ating exponent para positive. So that becomes 1 over 2. This is coming from 1 over 2 x to the 1/2. But then again, yung x to the 1/2 is square root of x. Okay? So if we are to rationalize this, this will be what? Square root of x over 2x. Let me erase our scratch work there. Ayan. Okay, so every time meron kang square root of x, that's a helpful tool. No? Ang ating magiging derivative lang is 1 over 2 square root of x. So ito yung ating formula for the derivative of square root of x. This usually appears in our expressions. So if we have 2 over square root of x, that will just become 2 times x to the negative 1/2. Again, our objective is to write this in the form cx to the n. Gusto natin makita kung anong n yung imumultiply kay coefficient. So 2 times negative 1/2 is negative 1. Tapos x to the negative 1/2 minus 1 is negative 3/2. Okay, so magka-cancel lang yung 2 and negative 2. So negative 1 goes up, yung square root of x cubed sa baba. Okay, again, i-rationalize natin by multiplying by square root of x over square root of x. So that becomes negative square root of x over x squared. So that will be our final derivative for this expression. Okay, so meron tayong sum and difference rule for differentiation. So if you're given with the sum or difference of two functions, we can actually differentiate the individual sum or term in the expression. No? So magiging u prime, yun yung notation natin for the derivative of the left side. Tapos yung derivative ng right side will just be u prime plus or minus whatever the operation there is, v prime. So getting the derivative of the y means getting the derivative of the individual terms. Okay? So that is to say, the derivative of a sum or difference is equal to the sum or difference of their derivatives. So let's have an illustration, an illustrative example. So if we're getting the derivative of y here, it's just a matter of differentiating this term by term. Basta separated na ng plus or minus, isa-isa na nating kunin yung derivative. Okay, so for 4x cubed, derivative is 12x squared, then minus 6x, and then plus, pick up the coefficient, plus 2. And then for the constant, derivative will be 0. Ayan, so there you go. That will be our derivative for the y. Okay. Now for the product rule naman, isa-isahin muna natin yung mga rules natin. If we're given with the product of two functions, hindi natin basta i-multiply yung derivatives nila. Okay? So ang ginagawa natin, meron tayong dalawang pairings, no? So dalawang products. So yung isang isang product, ika-copy mo muna yung first factor and then you multiply it by the derivative of the second factor. Tapos dun sa pangalawang product naman, ang gagawin mo is you multiply the second factor with the derivative of the first factor. Dito naman yun. Okay? So parang copy, differentiate, plus copy, differentiate. Parang ganun yung pairing. So yung pairing, kinokopya, dinidifferentiate mo yung kabila. Pagkatapos, yung kabila naman yung kinokopya and then differentiate what you copied. So basically, yung product rule natin, the derivative of a product becomes a sum of two products. Okay? The derivative of a product becomes the sum of two products. So, parang sasabihin natin, the derivative of a product is not equal to the product of their derivatives. Kasi nagiging sum, hindi naman u prime times v prime. Okay, parang sinasabi natin dito, y prime is not equal to u prime times v prime na minumultiply lang. That's wrong. Okay? So, for example, if we're given with this, ayan, this is a product. So, what we do is copy this one first. Ayun, tapos differentiate this. So, derivative will be 10x minus 0. So, 10x. Tapos plus, ayan, ito naman ang ika-copy. Ayan. Tapos differentiate this. That will be 2 plus 0. So, 2 na lang. Okay? So, dapat medyo mabilis na tayo dun sa mga special cases natin, yung pipick upin lang yung coefficients, derivative ng constant, 0. Okay? So, we simplify this. This will become 20x squared plus 30x plus 10x squared minus 2 or 30x squared plus 30x. Yan, we can combine these terms. Yan, minus 2. So 30x squared plus 30x minus 2 is the derivative. Okie dokie. Now let's go to our function. Ayan ulit yung kanyang derivative. Take note that if you decide not to apply the product rule, halimbawa, ay, ayoko mag-product rule, multiply ko na lang to using the FOIL method. So you will have something like this. So yung y mo will be y pa din, ano, kasi you're not yet differentiating. So y, you're just multiplying muna using the FOIL method. That's 10x cubed plus 15x squared plus minus 2x and then minus 3. So, getting the derivative of the individual terms, kasi plus and minus na yung nagsiseparate sa kanya, pwede na natin itong i-differentiate isa-isa, di ba? Kasi plus and minus na. So, we have 30x squared plus 30x minus 2. And that is the same as the answer we obtained using the product rule a while ago. Okay, so ayun po, some observations lang. Now, let's go to our quotient rule. Sa quotient rule natin, we're given with a quotient of two functions. Yan. So, meron tayong, ang derivative ng quotient is also a quotient. Okay? Pero, we take note that this is not equal to simply the quotient of their derivative. So, meaning in symbols, y prime is not equal to just u prime over b prime. Hindi basta i-differentiate mo si taas, ayun, tapos over the derivative of the denominator. It's not as simple as that. Okay? So, yung y prime mo, yan, you have the denominator times the derivative of your numerator minus your numerator. Parang ito yung product rule natin kanina na nagsasalise yung pairing. Yung isa kinapi, tas derivative ng kabila. Minus siya naman yung ika-copy, derivative ng denominator. Kaya lang this is minus, so we have to be more careful. All over the square of the denominator. Okay? So para mas madali nating matandaan to, we can call this numerator, since nasa taas siya, we can call it the high. Tapos ito namang nasa baba, since nasa baba, we can call it the low. Okay? So pwede nating sabihin the formula is equal to low d high, di ba? Lagay natin sa dito yon, low times d high. So meaning kukunin mo yung derivative ng high, low d high minus high d low, meaning derivative ng low over, pwede natin sabihin low squared. Okay? So low d high minus high d low over low squared. Yan, low d high minus high d low all over low squared. Ayan. So low d, unahin mo yung low d. Okay? So, ayan. So, ang gagawin natin, kunin muna natin yung u prime, that is 2, para ilalagay na lang natin siya later. Tapos yung v prime is 10x. Sabi sa formula, you don't just divide this, no? It's not equal to 2 over 10x, no? You don't simply divide this 2. So, ang formula natin ay medyo mahaba. So, latag natin. The easiest one will be the low squared part. So, square natin itong denominator. Tapos yung low d high, low d high. So we multiply that by the derivative of the high. So we have this. Minus high d low. Minus high d low. Ayan. So parang unahin muna natin yung parang check. Di ba? Na gesture. Pag ganun muna. Low d high minus high d low. So 2x plus 3 times 10x. So it's a minus. Okay. Using distributive property, the first product will be equal to 10x squared. This is 10x squared minus 2. Okay. Tapos the second product, this is negative, no? So negative 20x squared minus 30x. Okay. We can just combine the 10 minus 20. So that makes it negative 10x squared minus 30x minus 2 all over 5x squared minus 1 quantity squared. Okay, so that's it. That's how we get the derivative of a quotient. Now we go to the chain rule for differentiation. Sa chain rule for differentiation, we are given with this kind of expression, parang similar to the cx to the n. Kaya lang here, we're assuming u is a function of x. Okay? So, ibig sabihin parang just like a chain, di ba yung chain natin, parang may i-differentiate ka pa sa loob. Okay? So, instead of just simply having cn u to the n minus 1, ito lang dapat, no? Yung multiply, subtract. Kaya lang, since this is still a differentiable, meaning makukuhanan mo pa ng derivative, possible na may derivative pa siya na not equal to 1, yan, possibly, yan, kailangan mo siyang i-multiply pa yung derivative nung nasa loob na function. Okay, so you have an extra factor lumalabas kapag chain rule. Okay, but remember you have the usual multiply subtract first. Okay, before you differentiate. So let's have this example. Yan. So using our chain rule, multiply muna natin, di ba, yung coefficient by the exponent. So that will be coming from 5 times 2. Okay, so it's 10. That's your first factor. Tapos the next factor will be the copying part raised to the n minus 1. So that will be 3x squared plus 5 raised to the 1. Okay? And then yung u prime natin will be coming from the derivative of this base. Derivative ng base natin will just be 6x plus 0 or 6x. Simplifying further, that will be 180x cubed plus 300x. Okay. So, paano nga kaya kapag itong given sa atin? What if ginawa natin ay in-apply natin yung squaring ng binomial? Okay. So, in-square yung binomial. Yan. So, that becomes 9x to the 4 plus 30x squared plus 25 na lang. Tapos, syempre, kunwari, a-applyan natin ang product rule. Although, di ba since meron tayong constant coefficient, pwede nating ilabas lang yon and differentiate the rest of the expression. Okay? Anyway, so 0 is the derivative of 5. Tapos yung second factor, ang derivative niya, 36x cubed. Derivative nito. Tapos derivative ng 30x squared is 60x. So ito yun. Tsaka ito. Okay, so sabi sa product rule, ito yung gagawin natin, no? Ito, i-pair natin. So 5 times 36x cubed plus 60x. Tapos yun, plus 0. Okay. Kaya lumalabas, di ba, parang pwede nating ilabas na lang si 5 and then differentiate the rest of the function, which is this. Parang shortcut yun kapag may 0, pagka may constant ka na factor. Okay. Ayun, so pag minultiply natin to, using the product rule tayo, no? Same answer, we'd still get 180x cubed plus 300x. Okay? Paano kung ayaw nating mag-product rule? Gusto natin mag-proceed. Paano kung gustuhin nating applyan ng distributive property to? So we have 45 x to the fourth plus 150 x squared plus 125. So let's get the derivative of this using the usual sum and difference rule. Di ba? We can just differentiate this term by term isa-isa, no? Derivative ng 45 x to the fourth will be 180x cubed. Tapos derivative nito is 300x. Derivative ng 125 is 0. So still we get the same answer. Ayun. Ang cute lang kapag marami tayong options, di ba? Sa buhay, maganda yung marami tayong pinagpipilian. Okay. So, eto po yung mga summary. No? Kaya lang instead of just U and V, we have f of x and g of x. So, ito yung U and V natin a while ago. Okay. So, ito yung U minus V. Tapos, ito yung UV natin. That's why this is the UV prime plus V U prime. Tapos, this was the U prime plus V prime. This is the U prime minus V prime. Tapos, ito yung U over B. Ito yung V U prime, low D high, minus high D low over law squared. And then, for the chain rule, we differentiate muna the function as is. Ayun po. Yan, wag muna natin pansinin yung nasa loob na function, tapos saka natin pansinin yung g prime of x. Saka natin i-differentiate yung nasa loob. Okay? The usual differentiation muna, kukopihin muna yung g of x, di ba? Ayun. So, we take note of the following formulas. Okay, so let's differentiate the following. Sorry for the duplicate copy of this one. Okay. So, ang gawin natin wait lang. Wait. So, ang gawin natin ay i-differentiate natin using the quotient rule. Okay. So, let's see. Burahin ko lang muna siya. Okay, so let's have this one. The first one muna using the quotient rule. So, kunin natin yung ating blue pen naman. Okay, so if this is y, yan, parang y prime, kailangan natin quotient rule. Okay, so sana diretso yung aking fraction bar. Sorry for that. Teka, pagandahin naman natin. Okay. Ayan, so getting the derivative of this is negative 2x. Derivative of this is 6x plus 7. Okay. So if we are to get the derivative, kunin muna natin yung square nito, di ba? That's the law squared. So 3x squared plus 7x minus 1. Square of that. Tapos low di high. So multiplying this. Yan, we have negative 2x multiplied by 3x squared plus 7x minus 1 minus high di low. So minus the product of this naman. That will be 6x plus 7 times 12 minus x squared. Okay, so apply tayo ng distributive property here. That will be negative 6x cubed. Tapos dito, negative 14x squared. And then plus 2x. And then for the other product, we have 6x times negative x squared is negative 6x cubed. Tapos, 6x times 12 will be 72x. Okay, tapos we have minus 7x squared. And then 7 times 12 is 84. Okay, so plus 84 here. Ayan. So, denominator is still the same. Okay. Tapos, combine natin. We have negative 6x cubed minus 14x squared plus 2x. Labas na natin to sa grouping symbol. So, preceded by the minus sign. So, the negative becomes positive. This 72x becomes minus 72x. This one becomes positive 7x squared. And the 84 becomes minus 84. Okay, so we have the negative and the positive 6x cubed will cancel out. So, negative 14 and positive 7 is negative 7x squared. So, let's write it here. Tapos, 2x and minus 72x is minus 70x. Tapos, we have minus 84. Tapos, yung denominator na lang natin will be 3x squared plus 7x minus 1, the quantity squared. Ayun, so that's it for number 1. Okay, so for our next example, we have this. Let's differentiate this one. So recognizing that this is a product, we will differentiate this using the product rule. No? So we can copy this one first. So that's 15 square root of x. And then differentiate this one. No? So get the derivative of that one. We have 20 using the chain rule. No? So x plus 5 raised to 19. And then derivative of this one naman is 1 lang. So okay na siya. Okay? And then plus, remember the product rule, meron tayong plus. Tapos ito naman yung ika-copy. That's x plus 5 raised to 20. And then differentiate this factor. That will be 15. Tapos derivative ng square root of x. Diba yung alam natin square root of x over 2x. Okay, so ayun po, we have this derivative. Now let's go to number 3. Oops, practice exercises na pala tayo, no? So we have this one, and this one. Okay, so you can pause the video if you still want to practice on this. Okay, so let's proceed with number 1. Okay, we have 12x over x plus 3. Let's check your answer. So assuming you have paused our video kanina, tapos kuha kayo ng scratch paper and then you tried to get the derivative first on your own. Let's check your answer. Ayan, so first we have this one. Yan, ginawa natin is minultiply na natin yung 12x inside x plus 3. So distributive property lang yon. Tapos we apply the quotient rule. Okay, so kunin natin yung low squared. Okay, so we just have to square this denominator. Okay, so ayun yung v squared. Tapos sa taas, kailangan natin yung vu prime. So we need to get the derivative of the numerator. So ito po yung kailangan natin for the first term. Okay, yun yung vu prime. Tapos for the minus uv prime, we need to get the derivative of the denominator, which is 10. Tapos sila naman yung i-pair natin para dun sa second term natin or sa subtrahend. Okay, so we have this pair. That would be 10x minus 7 times 24x plus 36. And then minus this one. So that would be minus 10 times 12x squared plus 36x. Okay, so we apply distributive property and then we simplify. 240 minus 120 is 120x squared. Tapos 360 minus 168. Actually, the 360 pala minus 360 magka-cancel. Okay. Tapos negative 168 na lang. So we have 120x squared minus 168x minus 252 all over 10x minus 7 quantity squared. Okay. Yun. So let's go to number 2. We have this. So again, we will be applying the quotient rule. So we need to square the denominator. So square natin daw to. Yan. So that will be 15x to the 4th minus 6x plus 5, the quantity square. Tapos kunin natin yung derivative ng numerator. Yun, chain rule siya, no? Baba si 12, tapos 5x squared plus x minus 4 to the 11. Then the derivative of this one, 10x plus 1. Tapos sa denominator naman, derivative will be 60x cubed minus 6. So ang pairing natin will be this one. That will be this long thing, no? Dami. Tapos minus, di ba yan yung low d high, low derivative of the high minus high the low, high derivative of the low. Minus that, okay? So ayun, since medyo hindi na natin masisimplify to because of to the 11 power, to the 12 power, we will have this as our final answer. Okay, now for number 3, we have this. Okay. So gamit tayo ng expression muna na gumagamit ng exponent, no? So instead of radical, di ba sabi natin, every time we have a radical, ang una natin gagawin is to express that with a known exponent. So we will have to write it this way. Yan, the product of x plus 4 and 7x squared minus 5x plus 9, everything raised to 1/2, okay? So we have to apply the chain rule first kasi because of this exponent being applied to the entire product, no? So yung chain rule muna because of this, siya yung nasa labas. So chain rule, baba si 1/2, tapos kopyahin, diba? Raise to the negative 1/2. Bakit negative 1/2? Kasi 1/2 minus 1. And then we differentiate this expression. Okay? Saka na natin i-differentiate yung ating base, the one being raised to the power. Okay? Now that thing is a product, so we use the product rule. Yan. So we need to get the derivative of this and then the derivative of that one. Pero hindi ito yung derivative niya. So may pairing tayo doon. Okay? So we'll be pairing this. Ayun siya. Plus that one. Okay, so plus that one. So product rule, it's a sum of two products. Okay, so that's it. That will be our final answer. Unless pwede pa palang i-simplify si 14 tsaka si 7 tsaka yung 51 and minus 5. So that will become 21x squared plus 46x minus 11. Okay, that's it. Let's go to differentiability. So if f of x is equal to 2x cubed plus x squared minus 3, let's find the following. So ang f prime of x natin will be equal to 6x squared plus 2x minus 0. Now if we're getting f prime of negative 1, diba, the derivative comes from the limit. So since continuous naman to, it will become, the limit will be existing everywhere. So differentiable din siya for all values of x, mga polynomial functions. Okay? So this is now our f prime of x. Ano naman yung f prime of negative 1? So that means we'll be substituting negative 1 to our x here. So we have 6 times 1 plus 2 times negative 1. This is 6 minus 2 or 4. Okay? Now, what about the value or values of x when f prime is 0? So, ito yung f prime of x pa rin natin. We'll be making use of this one. Okay, so that is 6x squared plus 2x and then we equate that to 0. We're interested kung anong value of x yung magiging 0 ito, no? So, we factor. We do some factoring. 2x and then 3x plus 1. So this is 0 when x is equal to 0 or when x equals negative 1/3. Okay, so these are the values of x making our derivative 0. Let's go to our next example. Let's find the following. Yan, so f prime of x, medyo ma-fraction lang, no? So 4 times 1/2 is 2. This is x cubed. That will be plus 12x squared. So f prime of negative 1, this is negative 2 plus 12. So 12 minus 2 will be 10. Okay. Now for f prime of 2 naman, substitute tayo ng 2 sa ating x. This is 2 times 8 plus 12 times 4. Okay. So this gives us 16 plus 48 and that will be 64. Now, for the value of values of x when f prime of x is 0, we equate this to 0, so that makes it 2x cubed plus 12x squared equals 0. So common factor will be 2x squared, and then we have an x plus 6. Okay, so this is 0 if x equals 0 or if x equals negative 6. So ito po ang dalawang values of x na nagpapa-0 sa ating first derivative. Okay, so ito yung ating basic derivative rules again. Ito yung ating mga sum, difference, product, quotient, and chain rule. Those are the differentiation rules we have to remember. I hope you are now ready for our time for questions. Question number 1, find the derivative with respect to x. Okay, fast forwarding our timer. This is actually 23x raised to 1/2. Okay, so if we apply the differentiation rule here, we'll be using the chain rule. So baba si 1/2, tapos 23x will be raised to negative 1/2. Tapos derivative nito, pick up the constant. That's 23. Okay, so that means our numerator is 23. Denominator is 2. Tapos square root of 23x. If we rationalize this, multiply tayo by square root of 23x, this will be 23 times square root of 23x all over 2 times 23x. So the 23's will cancel out. So our final answer natin for the y prime is square root of 23x na nasa loob dapat pala ating x all over 2. Okay, so that's, sorry, may x pala na naligaw pa. Okay, so that's it. This is our final answer. Okay, so let's go to number 2. Okay, time is up. So ang gagawin natin, gamit tayo ng product rule. So ready natin yung derivative ng first factor, derivative ng second factor. And then we do the pairing, this one, yung pairing natin, para ka lang nag-cross multiply, no? So for the y prime, it will be 8 times 15x plus 2 plus, ito naman yung pagka-pair, that will be 15 times 8x minus 1. So 8 times 15 will be what? It's equal to 120x plus 16. Tapos dito na naman, 15 times 8 is another 120x minus 15. Okay, so we have 240x, combining the terms with x, and then plus 1. So this is our final answer. Okay, now let's go to question number 3. Find the derivative with respect to x. Okay, fast forwarding our timer, will be using now the chain rule. So y prime will be, baba natin si 10. Tapos copy lang muna. Yan, wag ma-excite na kumuha ng derivative. Tapos raise to the 9. Dun sa pangatlo, saka lang natin i-differentiate yung base lang. So we focus on the base, derivative of that is 4. Notice that we can combine 4 and 10. So this will be 40. 4x plus 5 raised to the 9th power. So that's it for this derivative. Okay, now let's go to this one. Find the derivative again with respect to x. Okay, fast forwarding our timer. Ayan, you can always pause our video if you want to have more time answering. Derivative ng numerator is 2x. That's your high. Derivative ng denominator is 5. Para naka-ready lang pagka kinailangan natin sila. Parang it's like nagsisave ka sa iyong derivatives bank. Okay? So, ang y prime natin, since this is a quotient, we apply the quotient rule. So, derivative is, di ba, kailangan square natin to. That's your low squared. Tapos, low di high. Yan. So, 2x times 5x plus 7 minus high di low. Okay. So, apply tayo ng distributive property. So, 10x squared plus 14x. Dito, minus 5x squared plus 25 all over 5x plus 7 quantity squared. Yan. So, 10 and minus 5 is 5x squared plus 14x plus 25 all over 5x plus 7 quantity squared. Ayan, so that will be our final answer. Okay, let's go to number 5. Find the value or values of x when f prime of x is equal to 0. Okay, fast forwarding our timer. Let's get first our f prime of x. So f prime of x will be, sige nga, that will be 6x minus 12. And then we're interested with when or at what value or values of x is this 0. So equate natin siya sa 0. So linear lang to, no? So we have 6x equals 12. It's like solving for a linear equation. So x equals 12 over 6 or 2. So this is our final answer. Okay, so with that, I hope you got 5 out of 5 in this set of exercises. Ayun, so with that, good day and God bless.